Hello everybody. We are out here this morning. It's a cool morning this morning here in South Georgia. And I'm out here. I wanted to talk a little bit about what to do after the shot. I got a friend that killed killed him a doe the other day, and he called me from the tree stand and we were talking, and it's what prompted me to do this right here. And he recovered his doe, made a really good shot with a John Schultz longbow, by the way. And I think that may be his first deer with a longbow. I believe he's got some with the recurve. But anyway, congratulations, Landon. But it prompted me to, I did a video about blood trailing and stuff before, but I wanted to do another one. Daisy, don't bump into the camera, please. I wanted to do one for the people that hadn't seen that one. So anyway, basically what it's about is, what do you do after the shot? This is what I do after the shot. And I'm talking about from a tree stand. From the tree stand and from the ground blind, or the hunting off the ground, is some little bit different stuff. But from the tree stand, I've just made that shot, and number one, you very much increase your odds of finding your critter if you shoot close shots. 15 yards is my limit, and you know, give or take. And I won't shoot them unless they're perfectly broadside or slightly quartering away. If they're really, really close to me, I'll shoot them pretty steep quartering away. But I will never shoot one quartering to me. I just won't do it. It's just too much can go wrong, and I don't shoot enough poundage to you know, to get through shoulder blades. So number one, and if your deer's wired, if you shoot a deer that's already saw you and wired, if you're gonna shoot, and I've shot deer like that, but if you're gonna shoot, you gotta aim low, and they got to be really close. If they're out there 15 yards, you're not going, there's no telling where you're gonna hit them. But if they're really close and you aim low, you can make that shot. A couple other things that help your odds of finding your deer is shooting as much broadhead as you can for the poundage that you shoot. I shoot heavy arrows, and presently shooting the 1 9/16 wide Jerry Hill broadhead, and it cuts a pretty good gash. And on your hits that may be above mid lung, where you don't get a whole lot of blood, well, naturally the bigger the gash, the more blood you're possibly going to get. And here's one thing for you guys to consider. A lot of people think that they'll shoot a deer with a big broadhead or something and be disappointed about the blood. Where you hit the deer determines how much blood you're going to get. And a bigger broadhead and a smaller broadhead, there's going to be the big broadhead is going to get more blood, considering you hit them both in the same place. But if you get above mid lung, no matter what broadhead you shoot, you're not going to have a horrendous blood trail. But if you shoot the bottom third of the lungs, or get a low exit down there around the elbow, you're gonna have plenty of blood, no matter what broadhead you shoot. But the bigger broadhead is gonna put more blood on the ground. And one of the reasons for that, if you shoot a deer and say their leg is forward, you hit them right there, then when they come back running, the skin will cover up the hole going into the body cavity. So the blood can't come out. A big broadhead, you got more of a hole and a better chance for blood to come out. So that's enough on that. Shoot a heavy arrow and a big broadhead, biggest broadhead as you feel good with shooting out of your poundage that you shoot. Here we go, what to do after the shot. All right, you've shot your broadside deer, and looks like you made a good shot, right? It don't matter if you made a good shot or not. You shot your deer and the deer runs. The very first thing you do is you listen and look as far as you can, no distractions. And if the deer, and try to pick landmarks as the deer's running. This happens fast. You got to think. You got to be thinking about it. The deer runs, it went on the left side of that big tree, or it went on the right side of that bush. You make mental notes of all that. The deer runs out of sight, and you listen. And so right here, that's the last place we saw and heard the deer at, right out there, or heard the deer. Then you immediately pull this puppy here out, not your phone, because you don't have time for all that. You looking at your spot there, you get a bearing on your compass and get the exact number, like it's 68 or 225, whatever it is, you line your compass up. That's very important. Another thing you do, say your deer runs in a straight line and you see it, and then it turns and goes this way, and it ran away from you this way, but you last heard it, it made a loop and it fell over here. Well, you get a compass bearing on the direction that it ran, and you get a compass bearing on where you last heard it, because this will probably get you on blood. And if not, the last resort, then you get in the line with where you last heard it at, and go grid that and find your deer. One thing that I do, especially late in the evening, I shoot a deer and it runs and I get my compass bearing, but I'll grab my judo or my blunt that's in my quiver. We usually carry one, and I put these fluorescent things on my arrows right here. Used to, when I first started buying them, you'd buy a complete arrow wrap that was fluorescent, and I would cut it in strips. I think they caught on to that, so now they sell them in strips and they're pretty expensive. But I could buy 6 of those other ones, or maybe a dozen, and have enough to last for years. But anyway, I put these on my arrows, and I started putting one down there by the broadhead. In case my arrow breaks like this one, I actually got a deer with this arrow here. Then it helps me locate my broadhead. So I shoot my judo where the deer was standing when I shot it. And then I can go down there when I get down. You know, you get down out of the tree, everything looks different in the swamp there, and it's done got dark on you. Maybe you take your flashlight and pick up your judo. If the arrow, you know, the deer may have carried your arrow off you shot her with, or you can locate your arrow you shot the deer with, maybe laying down there. And so that gets you on blood pretty quick like that. This arrow, this particular deer I shot right here, the video was Constellation Doe, where I had seen a good 8-point and another buck from the tree and ended up shooting a nice doe, and I was tickled. But the deer ran, and a lot of blood. The deer ran and was kind of making a half circle, and I was steady on blood, and get you some paper towel or toilet paper, and don't put a piece down big as your hand. Just little corners off of it as you drop, and you make you a breadcrumb trail there following your blood. That way you can turn around and get a line on what's going on there. And then if I come to a place, maybe I'm struggling for blood and I might have to start circling, I'll tear a pretty big piece off and hang it up in a bush or something where I can spot it from a distance. Because I've been hunting and stuff like this now. And so that helps me stay on the blood and get back to where my last blood was at. So use you some toilet paper to track with. But I had shot this deer and she made a loop, and she was keeping a straight line, and then I was going forward following my paper trail, and I ran out of blood. And it was a good blood trail, and I could not find blood. So I came back and stand, and I shined my light around, and this arrow was laying, and she had ran and made a 90-degree turn like this. And there was plenty of blood, and I'm sure I'd have probably picked it up anyway. But she made a 90-degree turn, and this arrow broke off when she went through a little tight gap between trees, and I spotted this thing like 20 yards away, you know, glowing, and that got me. I said, oh, she went right here. I got there and went another 20, 30 yards, and the deer was laying there. So these little things here, I'm telling you now, I would never, no matter what kind of arrow, even if you shoot lighted nocks, I would always put these on my arrow. I even put them on my judo arrows, my practice arrows, in case you're out here shooting and you miss, you know, you can come out here at dark and find your arrow. But that helps a lot. You got to have some paper, and you know, when you get down on the ground there, you keep it in your pack or whatever. You need a compass. You don't have time for all that crap fooling with your phone, waiting on this and that. Have it on your compass. Get your compass bearing. It's quick. Being that you won't find me in the woods without a compass on me. And that way, I mean, like if you don't have any blood, that compass will give you, you know, it'll give you a bearing to go on to look for. And I found many deer that I didn't get an exit on, and they, you know, you lung shoot a deer. If you don't get an exit and the entrance is high, like they're close to you, and you hit the shoulder, I've shot 3 deer like this year. You hit the perfect in the lungs, but it's above mid lung, and the arrow goes in the shoulder or the leg on the other side, so you don't get an exit. And so there's not very much blood because the entry wound is high. But if you get on a bearing, if you've got a way to go, if you get on that bearing before very long, they, you know, it's graphic to say, but they start bleeding out the nose and mouth, then you can start picking up blood. You know, they usually be pretty high. So when you're blood trailing, don't just look on the ground, look up high. Another thing, if you don't get an exit, and say you do get a little bit of blood on the entry side, pay attention when you're walking. So say if you shot the deer and hit it on the left side, the blood's on this side of the trail. Pay attention to that. Know which side that the deer was on. When the deer goes by stuff, the blood's on the left side. It lets you know the deer was on this right side, going like that. And that's important because I shot one that went into a real thick trail and I ran out of blood. I just couldn't find, and it was like a wall. And then I looked and there was blood on the right side. So that told me that the deer turned around and came back out the trail I was on, and it went down a little piece and cut in, was laying there. I'd walked 10 yards from it, laying there dead. But pay attention to what side the blood is on. And you know, you hear people say a deer to run to water, a deer won't run uphill. Oh, that's hogwash. A deer, you shoot a deer, he's panicking, he's running, and he's usually going to go a straight line. If the deer slows down and you start, instead of finding running blood that has teardrop shapes to it, if you find where a deer stood and there's just like a puddle, a lot of drops, immediately you just sit down and you decide then, like, I'm going to come back in an hour or 2 hours, depending on the weather, if it's about to rain, whatever, because that deer has stopped and is going to start walking then. And more than likely your blood will be harder to pick up because it's no longer running and blood pouring, it's walking, and you might get drips here or there and can still be 20 yards over there dead. So you'd have to learn to read the blood trail, and you have to be a student of this tracking. So much emphasis is put on how to tune your bow, how to tune your arrows perfect, how to sharpen arrows, how to shoot your shooting form. And nobody thinks that then they do all this perfect stuff with $1,000 worth of gear on their body and then make a shot on a deer and don't know what to do. And that's something that is learned from experience. And the whole thing boils down to not getting a shot on the animal. The whole key to success is when you put your hands on the animal. And this is an underrated, very important skill that if you're going to be successful at bringing deer home, you got to learn how to track and how to find the deer that you shot. So these are just a few tips for you. And this is from the tree stand. From the ground, if I'm hunting from the ground, I do stuff altogether different. And another thing, in your pack, you got to have toilet paper, or I use paper towel. You got to have something, and you don't tear big old pieces down or you might run out if you have to go 300 yards. You just little bitty corner pieces and drop down to breadcrumb pieces. But and also makes it easy if you go way in a thick place and the deer maybe ran the easiest way in there to start with. When you're coming out with your deer, that stuff helps you get out. Sound like a big rat behind me. That's Daisy back there sniffing stuff out. Daisy, come on. We're not chasing no rabbit in the mud. Come on. So when I'm hunting on the ground, like I'm pig hunting, I have a whole nother thing. I'm walking right at cover ground. I'll have 3 or 4 of the little fluorescent strips that glow in the dark. I'll have them on my quiver or stuck somewhere I can get to them quick. I'll have toilet paper in my side pocket right here, my right hand pocket, every time. I'll have some in my pack, but I want to be able to grab some quick. So I'm walking, I get on a hog, blam, I shoot this hog right here. I'll do the same thing. I watch where it goes. I listen, get the compass bearing like we talked about. Then I'll pull a piece of paper out. I'll drop it where I'm standing, and I'll walk to where the pig was standing and drop a piece right there. So automatically, I mean, things happen quick at night, or late in the evening, and it's dark on you before you know it, and then everything looks different because you're walking in a place that you hadn't been looking at for hours out of a tree stand, and everything just looks different. But if you do that stuff immediately, well, then you got where you were standing, where you had your compass bearing at. Then you also walk over here to where you got a place to start looking for blood at. And I've shot 2 hogs at one time before, and shoot this one, and then shoot that one, and all my focus was on what was going on right here, and I really struggled to find that first one. So I shoot that one, but after everything's done running, I put paper here, paper there, paper here where I'm standing, and get compass bearings. And I actually pull my phone out and hit the Google search, and I'll say the compass bearings on there because I'm bad to forget stuff. And so anyway, that's some tips from the ground. And then the follow-up after that is all the same. You do the tracking. But for me, I struggle to see blood, especially if I'm in pine needles. Daisy, come here. So I will get, I say if it's near dark, I'll just sit down and wait till dark. And I carry in my pack, I'll have 2 headlamps and 2 small flashlights and an extra set of batteries. And because you don't know that you might be on a mile-long blood trail. And then when you get the animal, you got to field quarter it, get it in the pack. Then you got to get out of the woods. So you carry that all that stuff with you. And but I see blood better. The light makes it shine. And I'm not colorblind. I just struggle to see blood in low light conditions. Or, you know, like if you shot a deer in the afternoon, time you get down and on the ground there, it may be getting near dark. I just wait it out. I wait till black dark, or at least until the light makes a difference in trail like that. It's much easier for me to find a deer I shot in the evenings than in the mornings. But excuse me, anyway, that's some tips on blood trailing. I hope that helps y'all. And it's easy to get in a hurry and get a little panicky and all that after the shot. Just take good mental notes, like I said. Use your paper towel tricks and just relax. Do not get in a hurry. You get in a hurry, that's when you mess up. Don't walk ahead and stomp your blood trail out. If I thought the deer went up there by the left side of that tree, but I'm on blood here and that's like 40 yards, I won't walk a straight line to where it was at. I'll make a loop so I don't walk on any blood. I'll make a loop and start probing for blood way ahead like that. You shot the deer and you saw it run out of sight, but 50 yards up there, you saw it go just to the left of a landmark, a tree or a bush. Well, then make you a half loop around and look for blood up there. And don't stomp all this out because you may have to come back to it. All right, so that's just some tips on blood trailing right there. And that's a skill that you, even if you hear the deer fall when you shoot, especially you beginners, you make a perfect shot, deer runs over there 40 yards and goes down. You're really, really hurting yourself if you miss that opportunity to blood trail, to get down and read the blood, read the colors of the blood. There's all kind of charts on blood. It'll deceive you sometime. You can shoot deer perfect, and there'll be, it look like gut material on your arrow, and you'll be tripping out when in reality maybe you got through the throat right there, or the whatever you call it, and there'll be some stomach matter on your arrow. I've seen that happen. I've seen shot deer that were eating acorns, and they would be, for lack of a better word, slobber on the ground with acorn parts. And you look at that and you say, oh man, I made a bad shot. No, learn to read that blood. Dark red blood is liver blood, and that's that's one I don't get in a hurry on. Most of the time, if you do your job, hit the deer where you're supposed to, you will hear the deer fall almost every time. If you don't see it, you'll hear them. If you double lung them, you really listen, get that compass bearing, you'll hear them fall. And oftentimes, instead of worrying about blood or anything to start with, if I heard the deer fall, I'll run my compass bearing and look around, and if I don't find my deer, then I'll come back and start the blood trail. So there's some tips on blood trailing. I wish I had my phone. I've been timing this donkey. I'm gonna see if he's on a schedule. He's an hour ahead this morning. Yesterday, his first hollering was at 10:20. So anyway, tips on blood trailing, and you guys stay on them. Don't be discouraged. I mean, it's really discouraging, and it makes you, if you hunt for the right reasons, you'll feel like a dog if you lose an animal. But it's not the end of the world. You have to learn from that experience. If you lost the animal, you made a bad shot, more than likely. And so you have to think about what happened. And possibly maybe you shot a deer that was wired. Maybe you shot out of your range, the deer wasn't turned the right way, or you just made a bad shot. It happens. I shot at a pig. I was hunting with a buddy it's been a while back, and he actually shot the pig after I shot it. I wounded it, but I shot a foot to the left, and I've shot since then, and I've not made that same mistake. Something I did, but it happens. You make a bad shot sometime. Anybody who's killed any amount of critters that says they have not lost an animal probably have politicians or in their bloodline, because it's going to happen if you be honest about it. And it's something we don't like to talk about. I'm like, I hate it, but so far, knock on wood, I've been drilling them this year, last year, and the year before. So except for that pig, and thanks to James, he made a backup shot that put that pig in the sack. So there you go, tips on blood trailing. It's a mental thing. If something happens, you shoot one, you lose it, as Brother John would say, you forget that one, it's like a bad girlfriend. You forget that one and go find another. It's bad, it happens. Don't dwell on it, dwell on the next one, but learn a lesson from what you did that caused you to not get your hands on that one, because something happened. And we've had times when we've made what we thought were perfect shots and didn't get the animal and can't explain it, but just do everything you're supposed to do. Don't be tempted to shoot out of your range. I've not been hunting in 8 days. I've had some stuff going on, some doctor visits with my wife, and we just doing family stuff actually. And then we went and made the syrup, went down there to the pool place. So Lord willing, I'm gonna go hunting this evening. I was gonna try to go the other evening and it fell through, but I got nothing to do today and tomorrow. So we, Lord willing, we're gonna try to head to the hills over there and see if we can find us what are you doing? Come here. See if we can find us a deer. Jump up. What you been doing? So thank y'all for watching our videos. Me and Miss Daisy both love y'all. Y'all keep the good Lord first, and we'll see y'all on the next video. Won't we? Was that a yes?